Here's the key. You say, Marshall, did I do my best to be happy every day? Life is what it is. Am I making the best of it? I can't say life's always going to be good, but did I do my best to be as happy as I could be given the cards I've been dealt?
Marshall, it's great to have you here on the Learning Leader Show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm curious, when you think about coaching, what is the makeup of an excellent coach?
Well, to me, the makeup of an excellent coach, the key variable is one that very few people talk about. That is the acceptance of the fact that the most important factor of coaching is not the coach. The most important factor of coaching is the person being coached. And a lot of coaching implies that if the coach is good, you will improve. Well, the reality is not necessarily. The coach can be the best coach in the world. If you're not a good client, you're not getting better. So the key is, I think, for success in coaching is let go of your own ego and quit believing that somehow people are going to get better because of you. Because the reality is a coach is not your life. It's their life. And the success or failure really is more about them than it is you. I mean, I got ranked #1 coach in the world for years. Why? Nobody knows I'm a good coach. On the other hand, I've got the best clients. I've got fantastic clients. If you look at my book, The Earned Life, read the first 6 pages. Those are my clients. Those are amazing people. Anybody's going to look pretty good coaching these people. It's like a basketball coach. I'm coaching an all-star team here. Well, it makes me look good.
How do you go about getting the best clients?
When I work with people, I'm #1 very fortunate. I didn't start my career at the bottom. I met a very famous man, Dr. Paul Hersey. He got double booked. He said, "Can you do what I do?" I'd been following him around carrying coffee and everything. I said, "I don't know." He said, "I'll pay $1,000 for a day." I was making $15,000 a year. I said, "I'll give it a shot." And I turned out to be successful. I got to meet a lot of people at a young age. So I didn't really start at the bottom as such. I was brought up very poor, but when my professional life, I started at a pretty high level. The key is when I work with people, they have to get confidential feedback. They have to apologize for their mistakes. They have to talk about what they've learned. They have to follow up on a rigorous basis. They have to get measured twice. And if they don't want to, it's perfectly fine with me. I just say goodbye. I don't work with them. For 45 years, I didn't get paid if my clients didn't get better. So I don't waste time. And the thing I've learned is it's not about me, it's about them. First thing I tell my clients is, you get better. It doesn't say much about me. It says a lot about you. You do this hard work, you're going to get better. You don't, you won't.
What's the vetting process? Maybe not for you, but if you could give advice to somebody earlier in their career, what would be the best way to vet clients? What are some questions you would ask on the front end before you decide to enter into a coaching relationship? What questions do we ask to get better clients?
Well, this is just my type of coaching, but I'm practice something called stakeholder-centered coaching. The question would be very simple. One, do you want to get confidential feedback from everyone around you, your key stakeholders? 2, are you willing to publicly acknowledge what you feel good about and what you want to get better at? 3, are you willing to apologize for mistakes? 4, are you willing to talk to them about what you learned? 5, are you willing to follow up on a regular basis and get remeasured? And if the answer is all of those is yes, and you actually do it, guess what? You're probably going to get better.
So a big part of yours is involving key stakeholders in your clients' lives.
Exactly.
And this, which I know you've written a lot and talked about, 360 coaching. What is 360 coaching?
Well, let's imagine you're the potential CEO of a large organization. I would have you and the CEO sit down and determine who are the most important stakeholders. That would probably be members of the board of directors. That would be your peers. That would be your direct reports, your manager. And then I would interview all of those people and say, learn, what are you doing well? What do you need to do better? What suggestions they have for you? This also may include your husband, wife, or partner, family members, if they have older kids. So my average client has 18 key stakeholders. The most I've ever had is 40, and the least I've ever had is 8.
So you interview those? Do you actually talk to, on average, 18 people per client?
Yes.
What are those conversations like with each of those 18 people?
Well, I'd say first they personally contact 18 people and tell them I'm going to talk to them and encourage them to tell the truth. When I interview you, I'd say, I'm going to ask you 5 basic questions. 1, what's this person doing well? 2, what's this person need to do better? 3, what situations bring out the best in this person? 4, what situations bring out the worst in this person? And 5, any suggestions at all for this person on any topic, personal, business, friends, family, macro, that might help them. What ideas would you have? And then I write a report.
Wow. That seems like it would take a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time.
So you've had some of the best clients in the world. Marshall, what have you found to be the commonality among your best clients in the world?
Well, the commonality of people that actually get better is 3 things. 1, they have courage. It takes courage to get feedback. It takes courage to look in the mirror. It takes courage to hear the truth. 2, it takes humility. So I've really learned in my job, I cannot help perfect people get better. If someone's perfect, there's very little I'm going to do to help them. And then 3, it takes discipline. You got to do the day-to-day work required to get better, which is not all glamorous. It's just work. And nobody, Arnold Schwarzenegger got a great quote. Nobody got muscles by watching me lift weights. But yeah, they got to lift the weights.
What's your favorite part about coaching?
I like talking to people the best. And in many ways, I'm not really a traditional coach. I'm also more of a teacher. So I always like teaching, and I got ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world twice. Most coaches don't express their opinions, but most coaches were not ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world either. So I am kind of a content expert. So I also am a teacher. So I enjoy teaching.
What's the difference between teaching and coaching?
The traditional model of coaching is the coach is more of a question asker and not an advice giver. I'm both a question asker and an advice giver.
So you're able to draw from your life experiences to do a combination of both. Regularly ask them thoughtful questions. You're a good listener, ask good follow-up questions. And then also you're not afraid to give them advice and say, do this instead of do that.
Oh, yeah.
How often or how frequently does it go bad for you?
Very seldom.
Because I remember last time we talked years ago, you said, I believe your rate at the time was $250,000 a year, but you only got paid if you hit a set of requirements that said you did a great job. Is that still how you operate? How does it work?
It is. It's all how I operate on stakeholders that are coaching. I don't always do that now for a different reason. Many of the clients that I work with now are already rich.
Yeah.
They've already achieved so much that they're not really interested in me hiring them to help them be more effective leaders. They just want to have a happier life, which is a completely different type of coaching that I didn't do the last time we talked.
So now you've shifted. So, and you wrote the earned.
I actually do both.
Okay. So the earned life has kind of got into some of that. What are some of the key ways? Because it's completely different to say to be an effective leader and all of the stakeholders involved. When you're working with somebody to try to live a happier life, what does that look like? How do you coach them?
The reality is they have to look in the mirror. I can't define happiness or meaning for anyone. They have to come up with these answers themselves. And I need to follow up with them and make sure they get better at that. Now, let me give you an example. And this is kind of a deep example. One person I coached a few years ago is worth about $4 billion. I said, what do you want me to coach you for? So I can boost you up to 4.1 billion? Who cares? He said, you're right. It doesn't matter. My life isn't going to change. He just said, you coach my friend and he's happier. I just want to be happier. Well, I worked with a guy for about a year and a half, and guess what? He got happier. Now, that's a while back. I just called him a few weeks ago, and how's it going? It's not good. You know what he said? I forgot to be happy. Forgot to be happy.
How does that happen?
It's very easy. You get busy. How many days have you forgotten to be happy? Got under pressure. You could try to meet a deadline. Stuff going on.
How often do you forget to be happy?
Less than most people.
How?
I remind myself every day. I have someone call me every day. People
is that how it works though? Is that we just say, hey, Marshall, got to be happy today. And then you're happy. Is that how it works?
Now, here's the key. You say, Marshall, did I do my best to be happy every day? Life is what it is, right? Life is what it is. And am I making the best of it? I can't say life's always going to be good, but did I do my best to be as happy as I could be, given the balls that I've been given the cards I've been dealt?
Well, what makes you happy?
Nothing can make you happy but yourself.
But what are you doing? And when you can pause for a second and say, God, this is great. I feel so happy.
Let me give you my basic Buddhist philosophy here.
Okay.
The great Western disease is I'll be happy when I get the money status, BMW, condominium, when I hear the teacher, when I get this wisdom, blah, blah, blah. When this happens, I will achieve this permanent state of eternal bliss. You see, that's not real. There's only one book that has the same ending, and they lived happily ever after. That is a fairy tale. That's not the real world. In the real world, you start over every day. Every day is another day. There's only 1 second in time you can ever be happy. You know when that is? Now. It's only one place, here. Where is Nirvana? Nirvana is on a Zoom call talking to an old bald guy. That's it. It's not someplace else. This is it. It's not out there somewhere in the sky. It's all right here and right now. This is it.
How are you so good about living in the present?
I've read 400 books on Buddhism. That probably helps a little bit.
Really? Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's one thing from reading. There's another thing to actually doing it. So how are you good at doing it?
Well, I think I pretty much made peace with the fact that there's nothing that I'm going to achieve or do that's going to increase my happiness in life at all. And see, in the West, we think if I achieve more, I will be happy. In my book, The Earned Life, Mark Thompson and I, we spent 600 hours with 60 of the most amazing people in the world. And by the way, these people are not a secret. Their names are all in the book. I mean, these included people like president of the World Bank and head of the Olympic Committee and the Rockefeller Foundation and the basketball star and the football, blah, blah, blah. All amazing people. Every week, they focused on their lives. And if achievement will make you happy, those 60 people are dancing off the ceiling every day. You read any of their bios, they all look like they're God. Well, look at my bio. Look at my bio. I look like a saint or something here. Oh, well. One guy in the group is Safi Bakal, and Safi's a brilliant guy. He wrote a book called Loon Shots. He's started 4 businesses. And Safi said, I finally learned something. He's a scientist. Happiness and achievement are independent variables. Happiness and achievement are independent variables. Be happy to be happy and achieve to achieve. Never believe achievement's going to make you happy. I said, Safi, I'm glad you realized that. You already have a PhD in physics from Stanford. You made $1 zillion. You successfully started 4 companies. You wrote a book that's a New York Times bestseller, and you've consulted to presidents. If that is not enough achievement to make you happy, do you really think a little more is going to get over the line? You say, that's ridiculous. No. It's like my friend is worth $4 billion. It's not enough to make you happy. You think 4.1 is going to matter? No, it doesn't matter. So happiness, be happy to be happy and achieve to achieve, but never believe I'll be happy when I do this, when I get that.
Well, I would imagine you've dug into the Harvard longitudinal study that Mark Schultz talked about on this podcast, where the longest study in history on human happiness, and that relates to relationships. It's really about love, like the people that you love you, that could lead to, it feels like, I know in my life, like that brings so much joy and happiness, quite frankly, is the relationships and the people that I get to be with on a regular basis. And so I try my best to pour into those and invest in those and be there for those people. What do you think about that?
Well, number one, I love that study. Number two, the guy who's in charge of it, Dr. Bob Waldinger, is a good friend of mine. Yeah, I have my 100 coaches. He's one of the 100 coaches, so he's my adopted son. So I love the guy. I think he's a great guy. I think relationships are critically important. Here's the key, though. Never say, I'm going to be happy when everyone else around me is happy. I'm going to be happy when my kids achieve something. See, a lot of people say, It's not I'm going to be happy when I achieve. It's I'm going to be happy when my kid achieves.
Yeah.
Go to the Little League baseball game. Watch the parents. Really, we need to be careful. It's important to have great relationships with people, but I would say have great relationships to have great relationships. Be a good father to be a good father. Be a good husband or wife to be a good husband or wife. But you can't make your happiness as a person based upon someone else's happiness. You'll never get there.
So how do you practice this each day? Is it really as simple as just saying, like, making a choice? Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to feel this way. Because I think of those who are struggling with mental health issues and all of that.
No. I'm not an expert on mental health. So
Okay.
I'm not going to give advice to people who have mental health issues. So let's just eliminate that from the table.
Gotcha.
I do not deal with people who have mental health issues. So we're just talking about people. My clients do not have mental health issues. Okay?
Never really? Like, never? You've had a lot of clients.
I have a lot of clients. When you say mental health issues, they're sometimes unhappy, of course, sometimes anxious, of course. But are they certifiably ill? Not really. No.
Okay. Is that something you kind of screen out of clients?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah. So really, is it though, if we simplify it as much as possible and compress this idea down, you're saying it's a choice. We wake up and make this choice each day, consistently throughout each day. And by doing that, that can work?
What I'm saying is you keep looking for this answer as if somehow, if I do this, I will never become unhappy again.
Yeah.
There's no answer to that.
Okay.
See, you're going exactly the opposite direction of what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay.
What I'm saying is there's only 1 second in life you need to learn to be happy. That's now.
Gotcha.
It's not, well, if I do this, I'll be happy for eternity or every day, or might I be sad sometime or blah, 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 which is all what you said. That's the opposite of what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
It's very hard for a Westerner to understand what I'm talking about. Why?
It is. I'll speak for myself. I think I get very prescriptive of do this to do that, and all of the teaching of Marshall Goldsmith and what you're talking about and what you've read and learned, I sense that is the opposite of what you should do.
Here's my point. I'm a Buddhist.
Yep.
Now, there are many schools of Buddhist thought. So when I say I'm a Buddhist, it doesn't say much. I'm not a religious Buddhist. I'm a philosophical Buddhist. The metaphorical Buddhist, and I don't know if there's some guy alive 2,600 years ago or not, maybe not. But in any case, the metaphorical Buddhist was brought up very rich. Buddha was brought up very rich. His father was a king. And his father protected him from life. His father always thought, he'll be happy if I keep giving him more. He lived in a bubble. Yet one day he was able to sneak outside the bubble. You know what he learned? You get old. He thought, well, that kind of sucks. Then he was able to sneak out the second time. You know what he learned? People get sick. Well, that sucks even more. Then on trip number 3, you know what he learned? You die. Old, sick, die. All the money in the world, old, sick, die. Poor, old, sick, die. That old, sick, die thing's in the car. He said, I'll be more stuff. Give me more stuff. Not going to help. He went out in the woods and starved himself and tried to be happy with less. Guess what? Didn't work either. What did Buddha finally realize? You can never be happy with more. You never be happy with less. Only one thing you can never be happy with, what you have. Only one time you can ever be happy. When that would be? Now, and only one place here. Now, how old are you?
42.
You're 42 years old. You seem to be a healthy guy, right?
Yep.
Got a family?
Yep. Healthy family.
Nice
Pretty
life?
good. Yes. Very grateful.
When the blessings of life were passed out, were you standing at the back of the line or right at the front?
At the front, man. I was born sliding into home plate, man, for sure.
That was it. You're standing at the front. Do you actually believe anything more than what you already have is needed to make you happy?
No, honestly, no. And thinking about that especially on the days when I complain about travel or whatever, it's a great reminder of, go ahead. Well, you're waving your arm. What do you mean?
I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. I think it's a great reminder of whatever money or possessions or the lake house. It's not about that.
It's not about that. You got everything.
What about you? What do you have?
Oh, I got all kinds of shit. Except you got one thing I don't even have.
What's that?
33 years.
Man, how do you view that? Because I look up to you so much and all that you've accomplished. And in the past, I've spoken with, go ahead.
My advice to you is have a good 33 years.
Yeah, man, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. What about you, though? How do you approach each day then?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is like, how many blessings do I have? Can't count that high. There's no, what am I supposed to do? Achieve more?
But the funny thing is, though, you've already done it all. You could easily just completely retire and, I don't know, spend time with your family, but you're hustling, man. Like you're working, you're getting after it. What's that all about?
Well, I don't even have to be on this call right now. Do you know what I could be doing instead of being on this very call?
What?
I could be playing crappy golf with old men at the country club while eating chicken salad sandwiches and discussing gallbladder surgery. I could be doing that, but I have chosen to take the ultimate sacrifice and talk to you instead of the chicken salad, country club, and gallbladder surgery.
Why do you choose to do this?
By the way, what the hell am I going to do anyway, other than drive everyone around me crazy? I'm around a bunch of old people that retire, right? I see what happens. I do these programs for transitioning CEOs. They got to find something to do. If they don't find something to do, they drive everyone around them nuts. So in my life, I love what I do. I'm working on a huge new project all the time. We're always doing new books, new ideas, new stuff. Why? Well, it's better than playing bad golf with old men.
I don't know. There's a lot of old men. That's what they do.
Play bad golf. Oh, it's okay for them. It just doesn't work for me.
Well, speaking of like big projects, I heard you spent a couple $1,000,000 on this bot. Did you? What's a Marshall bot?
No, I didn't spend it. Someone else did.
Oh, well, good. Hey, good for them. Okay, so what is this thing?
Oh, well, what I'm working on right now is a totally cool project called Marshall Bot.
What is it?
Well, I always wanted to give away everything I know to as many people as I can. That's why I like being on this call. I give away everything I know to everybody. Mm-hmm. And I always figured out how to do that, but I never was successful until now. I am the only human being I know who has his own AI computer bot. I am teaching it everything I know. Over the weekend, I spent about 12 hours working on it. And it's going to look like me and sound like me. I have an own computer-generated me in a green T-shirt and looks and sounds just like me. And you're going to be able to talk to a video version of me, ask it any question, and it'll answer better than I can.
How are you doing this?
Well, the way I'm doing it is I spend hours training it. Wow. I've already sent it over 1 million words.
So this is an LLM. You're putting all of your books, all of your podcasts, everything you've ever done, you're loading it so that you can create a bot version of yourself.
Exactly.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to look like me and sound like me. And I've been working on it all weekend. And right now, I'd say it can answer maybe 2/3 of the questions you ask it better than I can.
You wear the green collar shirt, I feel like, everywhere. Why is that?
Well, you could ask Marshall, but no, the New Yorker magazine wrote the story of my life. In the story of my life, a woman named Larissa McFarquhar wrote this story. And she said, I always wore a green T-shirt and khaki pants. Well, I didn't actually always wear a green T-shirt, but she said I did. Hell, I don't like to dress up anyway. So this gave me an excuse to avoid thinking about my clothes for the rest of my life. So people began to expect me to wear a green T-shirt all the time. So now I always wear a green T-shirt. I always dress the same. Why? I don't like to wear a coat and tie anyway.
Perfect. I love it. Less decision fatigue. I know you worked with other people that have helped with developing coaches. You're training the trainer, right? You're training coaches to be the best. It started with 100 and now it's gone far beyond just 100, even if though that's the brand name. What is it about like your desire to help other people become world-class coaches?
Well, what happened is I went to a program called Design the Life You Love. It was put on by a woman named Aisha Bursell. Now, she's a wonderful person. And part of the program, she said, who are your heroes? My heroes are very kind and generous people who are nice teachers. She said, you should be more like these heroes. So I decided to adopt 15 people, teach them all I know for free. And the only price is when I got old, they'd do the same thing. So I was going to adopt these 15 people, teach them everything I know for free. And then they get old, do the same thing. It was not like a nice idea. So I make this little selfie video and put it on LinkedIn, a very primitive video. I'm thinking 100 people would apply and I'll adopt 15. It turned out to be the most widely viewed video at the time in the history of LinkedIn. 18,000 people applied to be adopted. So now I've adopted about 350 people. So the program is called the 100 Coaches Program. And so it's great fun. And we just try to help each other. And so it's nice. So I was just at the Thinkers 50 in London, where they have the top 50 business thinkers in the world. And I think about 20 out of the 50 are people I've adopted.
Wow, that Thinkers 50 looks like a pretty cool room. What's it mean to you to regularly be in that room and to be, I think, number one multiple times?
Well, I'm no longer number one now.
Okay.
Let's be clear. The last 6 years, I have not been the number one coach. On the other hand, the award is named after me. So it's okay. I'm no longer the number one.
Do you like those awards? Does that make you does that help make you feel happy to get awards?
Good for your career.
For sure.
Yeah,
so yes.
So I'm on what's called the Hall of Fame. I had a great time. See, when you're Hall of Fame, you don't have to compete. So when I was younger, it's just like the Academy Awards. They get up and say, and the nominees are, and the winner is. And then when you win, you're feeling good. You look around the room, you see the other losers. They go, I hate you, burn in hell.
You're supposed to be helping each other, man. What are we doing here?
Yeah, well, that's a nice theory. It's like the Academy Awards. It's easy to say, hard to do.
Can you go back earlier in your career? You think like the inflection point, was it what got you here won't get you there?
That was huge. Back to the New Yorker magazine story. So this woman writes a story of my life. Now, there's a very interesting drama. The New Yorker magazine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they do profiles of people. So she wants to do a profile of me. And this is not a simple decision, as half these profiles are viciously negative if you read them. And you have zero editorial control. So this woman wants to do a profile of me. So I think about, Peter Drucker taught me a great lesson. Who's the customer? I always ask, who's the customer? Well, I thought, who is the customer? First, are those my clients, people like that. I said, nah, the customer is my unborn great-grandchildren. This brilliant woman's going to write a story about me, but if I don't like me, they won't know it's me. I'll be a fake. That won't really be me. So I'm going to act like me. I told my wife right off about $150,000 at least, because I'm sure I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this because I'm kind of crazy, but I'm just going to act like myself. So I did. Well, it turned out this story was very positive, and in hindsight, it was the smartest thing I could have done anyway. I'm not going to fool this woman. She followed me around for 2 months. She went to Harvard. I mean, she's not dumb. I'm not going to fool her anyway, so might as well act like me. So anyway, the story was great. And then Mark Ryder, he says, I read this story. It's a great story. And he said, I read the stuff you've written. It's not really that good. I said, well, no shit. There's some woman who works for the New Yorker magazine can write better than me. I've got a day job here. He said, why don't we write a book that sounds like that? I said, listen, you can do it. We'll do it. And he said, I get half, you get half. I said, not a problem. So he's my agent and co-writer. We've done 4 books together. They've all been New York Times bestsellers. And we have just a great partnership. So the 4 best books I've written, I didn't write. He writes the books. I just have the ideas.
So how does that process work? You just voice what you think and Mark writes it?
Yeah, no, he brings a little recorder and we talk and argue back and forth and banter around, and then we have a book.
Wow. And so what do you think it was about what got you here won't get you there? That's something, now that's a ubiquitous phrase that everybody says everywhere. I feel like you hear it started from your book title.
So he writes the book. I have the ideas. And one of the keys to that book is the title. I mean, the title. Now, he came up with a title.
He did.
He did. We're at the publisher. The publisher says to me, what's the book about? I said, well, what got you here won't get you here. Mark says, I sound really dumb. You ought to say what got you here won't get you there. That's where the book title came from.
Wow. And I think that sets it apart. I mean, that's like I said,
2 million books later, that's where the title came from.
How did your life change after that book came out?
Oh, a lot. I mean, the book was and is. The book is still popular.
It still is.
I mean, it still sells around the world. Right now in India, I just looked it up. It was like #1 asked for management book in the country 15 years after it came out.
So they wrote the New Yorker story about you prior to that book coming out?
Yes. Huh?
What have you done leading up to make them want to do this 2-month long research project to write this story?
There was executive coaching was almost unheard of.
Okay.
So what is this weird field of executive coaching? And she originally wrote a story about my friend David Allen.
Yep.
But David Allen
Getting things done,
getting organized, right? So that sounds boring. So then she studied other coaches. And she said, well, this guy's a Buddhist. That sounds a little weird. She just thought it'd be more fun and interesting.
Interesting.
Hey, a lot of life is luck.
So you're saying, so you got lucky, a little bit lucky there.
No, God, really? How many times can I say I got lucky? About 1,000. Anytime that's very successful and doesn't say they got lucky has got a lot of arrogance issues.
Yeah.
I mean, let me talk about you. How lucky did you get in life? I mean, how many breaks have you caught?
A billion, honestly. Like
me too.
Yeah. Just to be standing here doing this right now, talking to Marshall Goldsmith is insanely lucky, living where I live with the family I have. I think about that, especially when you look around the world or you travel around the world and you gain perspective. You're like, there's so many parts of your life that you did, and I'll speak of myself, did nothing to deserve it. And yet here it is. So I think that, and in a way that's inspiring, though, it makes me want to make the most of it, which then usually involves serving other people.
Exactly. It's a good way to look at it. And I travel all the time. In the last month, I've been from Nashville to Sydney, Australia, Sydney to Penang, Malaysia, Penang to Singapore to Ho Chi Minh City to Kuala Lumpur to Tokyo, back to Nashville to London to Mexico to Nashville, and then I'm leaving today to go to New York. So that's the last month.
That's wild. What are you doing? Why are you traveling so much?
That's just basically giving talks.
You're on stage a lot, giving lots of talks.
I have been, yeah.
What do you like most about getting on stage and giving talks?
I enjoy speaking the most. It's fun. Coaching is actually work. You have to think and do the it's a work. But speaking to me is just, I get up, show off, have fun. It's like being a Broadway star. People applaud. They pay me lots of money. I enjoy it.
When you speak, are you like Seth Godin-ish with lots of slides and it's a performance, or do you get up and you just riff and go somewhere in between? What's your style?
I'd use a lot of interaction. I have people talk to each other, funny. So I'd say more interactive and funny. Mine's more just joking around, having fun, and having people interact a lot.
Do you get nervous before you go on stage?
If I was nervous before I'd be on stage, I'd be dead by now.
A lot of people get nervous, even if they're really good.
They do. I don't. I can't.
Did you ever?
Not too much, no. I was a very good teacher when I was a kid. I was 28 years old. I mean, this is a gift. My friend Paul Hersey, he got double booked, had me go to a program for a Metropolitan Life Insurance Company in New York. They were totally pissed off because that wasn't him. I showed up. They were angry, but I still got ranked first place of all the speakers. And they said, well, send Marshall again. That's not hard work. I was a kid.
I think that is hard. I think you maybe make it look easy.
That was a gift.
You think you were born with this gift?
I love it. I love it. And part of that wasn't hard work. I was a 28-year-old. I hadn't worked that hard at it. There are people who spend their lives working on this stuff, much more than I had.
Well, let's go back to that speech. What did you do that was so good that made them say, hey, we need to bring Marshall back? What did you do?
It wasn't what I did. It's the way I come off. You got to realize they've been listening to a bunch of boring people make finance presentations, showing slides all day. I came in telling jokes, having fun, telling stories, having them talk to each other. Shit, they love me.
So can we go to
actually woke up when I was there.
Let's go to a recent speech. How do you open? You open with a joke? What's an open like of your next talk?
First thing I do is introduce myself, right? So like I got a great bio, so I tell people who I am.
You introduce yourself, or they introduce you?
No, whether they do or not, I do it anyway. First, like a good story, just tell. A new story is I went to undergrad school, this little engineering school, Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. It was a fine school. I almost got thrown out 3 times, and I got 5 Ds and barely graduated. Yet, this year, I went back and gave the commencement address and got honorary PhD. Yay! And what's that show? That shows if your kid's in the bottom of the class, there's still hope. Don't give up, Mom and Dad.
You open.
Like that.
Yeah,
People
so you
like
open,
that.
like you shine a little light on you, like screwing around earlier in your life, not being
Yeah.
great in school, and the fact that now you're the number one executive coach in the world. How much preparation goes into your day-to-day work, and how much of it is it, hey, I've done so many repetitions?
Well, it depends. For
Okay,
speaking, the reality is on this tour, close to zero. I'm
you
not
got
doing
it.
it.
Your talk, you're going to go up and just do it.
I could give talks for about 3 or 4 days with no prep because I've done it so much. On the other hand, my computer bot that I'm working on, I spent hours on that over the weekend.
So the new stuff, the new projects, you got to put a lot of time into. But some of the old, if they say, Marshall, will you come speak to this group of leaders? We just read what got you here won't get you there. Can you talk about that? You could just get up and go right now.
Yeah, then say 2 minutes to prepare.
I think that's super useful. As leaders, I shouldn't put words in your mouth. Do you think we all need a coach, leaders of any different companies, teams, levels?
I'll use myself as an example. People always ask me, do you have a coach? I've had somebody call me up on the phone almost every day for the past 25 years to help me. Why?
They call you every day?
Yeah, why? My name is Marshall. I'm too cowardly and undisciplined to do any of this crap by myself. I need help. It's okay. We all need help.
So the answer is yes, then. You think we all need a coach?
Well, we all need help. We don't have to call it a coach. We all need help. I guess unless you don't need help, I don't know who that person is that doesn't need help.
Yeah. What do you look for in your coach that you've retained for 25 years?
No, I have different people.
Oh, different people do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's play a real life scenario. Let's say there is a senior executive right now, never had a coach. They're listening to this and they think, yeah, I probably need some help. This is lonely up here. I've really risen up pretty high. This is good. How do I go about finding a coach? What should I do? What questions do I ask to make sure they're a good fit? How do we do this?
Send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I always talk to people. And you just need to pick somebody that's good for you. But don't tell the client what you need. Ask the client what they do well. Ask the coach what they do well. Don't tell the coach what you need. There's too many coaches. If you tell the coach I need X, they're probably going to say I can do X.
Oh,
Ask the coach, what do you do best? And if the answer is related to what you need, that's good. If it's not, get another coach.
so you as the potential client should, when you're searching for a coach, don't say I'm this and this. You should say, hey, what do you do well?
Exactly. The first question, tell me, what do you do well?
What do you do well, Marshall, when people ask you that?
I help successful leaders achieve positive long-term change in behavior for themselves or people in their teams, number one. And number two, just try to help people have a little better life.
How do you do that?
Well, the first one I do through stakeholder-centered coaching. That's the process we talked about. Mm-hmm. They get feedback. We talk to people, follow up on a regular basis, help them get better. And then on the better life stuff, I have them basically tell me what they want to get better at. And every week we follow up with that as well. And I also do something called the LPR, which means all these great people talk to each other on the weekends.
What's that?
Well, they sit up and say, here's my week. Here's what it's like Alcoholics Anonymous for successful people. They basically say, my name is, here's what I did really well, and here's what I screwed up, and please help me, give me ideas. And everybody in the group gives them ideas, and they say, thank you.
You feel like one of the main things we all need is we just need people to talk to about this stuff.
In the words of the Rolling Stones, because we all need someone we can lean on. Yeah,
Did not know I was getting that.
Yeah, we all need help.
Why are we not good at this? Why are we like, I got this. That feeling from people. I got this. Why are we not good at this?
We're ashamed.
Huh.
We're ashamed to need help. There's a great book called The Checklist Manifesto, written by Dr. Atul Gawande from Harvard. If the nurse asks the doctor a series of very simple questions from a checklist before the surgery, the odds on unneeded infection plummet, death rates cut by 2/3. The huge majority of doctors around the country don't have the nurse do it. Why? Ego. They're ashamed. More people have died because of the egos of surgeons, according to Dr. Gawande, than died in the Vietnam War, the Afghan War, and the Iraqi War combined. Ashamed. We're embarrassed to admit we need help. We had this macho willpower crap. I can do this on my own. I don't have much willpower.
What is it about society that makes us ashamed?
Look at TV every day. Do you ever see a TV show about Jim needing help? No. Jim is self-reliant. Jim can do it on his own. Jim is macho. That kind of nonsense.
That's upsetting. That's normal.
Oh, what else is normal? Look, the Great Western disease is I'll be happy when. I will describe the Great Western art form. You mentioned TV. Tell me how many times you've seen this drama before. Are you ready? There is a person. No, the person is sad. No, they spend money and they buy a product and become happy. That's called a commercial. Have you ever seen one of those before? How many times?
Too many.
Thousands.
Yep.
Millions. Over and over and over again. Happiness is there. Spend the money, get the product. You'll be happy. No, you won't.
I'm fascinated by coaches in general, Marshall, because of my background in athletics. They've changed my life. The trajectory is vastly different because of amazing people who decided to give everything they had to help me achieve and play well and be a good teammate and just learn from them. Let's say somebody actually wants to be a much better coach. They want to impact lives. They want to make a difference in people's lives. What are the first few things they should be thinking about to say, God, I want to be maybe not like the number one executive coach of all time, but I want to be a great coach for other people? What should they think about?
Well, the first question I'd ask is, how old are you? If you're young, I would suggest that you go back to school. I mean,
Really?
I have a PhD, but I was young. And I mean, I'm happy I have a PhD, but I wouldn't do it when I was 40. Get a PhD when you're 25 is totally different than when you're 45. It's very hard when you get old to do that. But if you're young, I always recommend get the best education you can. So go to the best school you can, get the best education you can. If you're young, if you're older, then you can still learn. You can still get education as needed. I wouldn't get a PhD, but you could still get education as needed and get certified and just learn, but hang around with great people, hang around with people that are at the top of the field. That's what I did. Who were my teachers? Peter Drucker, Warren Bennis, Francis Esselbein, Alan Mulally. I had great teachers, Ken Blanchard, great teachers. Paul Hersey had a good saying. He said, you always look tall if you stand on the shoulders of a giant. Well, I can stand on a lot of tall shoulders.
What's one of the most useful things you learned from Peter Drucker?
I will now share this. If everyone listening learns nothing but this lesson, they're going to be happier people and have a better life. Part one, we're here on earth to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart and not to prove we're right. Very few people get that. We get so lost in proving how smart we are and right we are. We're not here on earth to prove we're smart. We're here to make a difference, positive difference. Number two, every decision in life is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. Most of us never make peace with that. Decision is not made by the smartest person, a fair person, a good person, a logical person. Decisions are made based on one and only one variable, power. Whoever has the power to make the decision is going to make the decision. Point number three is, if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there's one word to describe you. That word is called customer. There's one word to describe me. That word is called salesperson. Customers don't have to buy. Salespeople have to sell. Next point, sell what you can sell. Change what you can change. If you can sell it, you can change it. If you cannot sell it and you cannot change it, let it go.
Wow, that was a Drucker key learning. What was it like knowing him and working with him?
Lucky. I mean, I get ranked number one leadership thinker in the world twice. My brain compared to him, 10-year-old boy.
Really?
No,
why you say that?
He's smart.
What made him so smart? I mean, Jim Collins came on my show a few times, talked a lot about Peter Drucker. I remember that story he told about some of the key learnings. It felt like a bamboo stick whacking him in the head. It wasn't literally, but it felt like it because he spoke with such clarity to him that it really helped him. It sounds like you had similar things. What was it about him that just blew you away?
Part of it, he was just smarter than the rest of us. IQ isn't everything, but it's not nothing either. I mean, no offense to me, I'm a very smart person, but I'm not in the same ballpark as Peter Drucker. I'll tell you a story. Before Peter Drucker died, Doris, his wife, called and said, and I was very honored. She said, you want to say goodbye? You better come on over because he's probably going to be dead. So I went over to his home in Claremont. I didn't know what to expect. And he was dying. And But we just talked about stuff. I talked about business. I said, Peter, I think the auto companies are going to go broke. I was talking about the pension plan and healthcare and all this stuff at the time. And that was 7 years before it happened. That wasn't a stupid comment. So he goes, yes, Marshall, that may happen. Yet I have another thought. I think if this occurs, it will be during a period of severe economic distress in the United States. I think the government will be involved. They do not want them. He went on and on. 7 years later, everything he said happened almost to the detail. Now that's, look, I'm not putting myself down. I was pretty smart. I said they're going to go under, right? That wasn't stupid. But compared to him, I was playing checkers. He's playing chess.
Wow. Let's say, Marshall, one more question here before we run, man. This has been so fun. You're meeting with somebody who's like a recent college graduate, and they're unsure exactly of what they want to do in the world other than the fact that they want to leave a positive dent. They want to help people. They want to serve. What are some general pieces of life/career advice you'd give to that person?
Well, what leads to success in any endeavor? There's 6 things. 1, motivation. But it's not motivation to make money. It's motivation to do whatever's required to be a success. Everybody's motivated to be a success. So you're really motivated. Do you love what you're doing and motivated to do what is required to be a success? 2 is you need to have ability. Is this something you have actually the potential to do? Everybody doesn't have the potential to do everything. I don't have the potential to be a great basketball star. And then 3, you got to know what to do and how to do it. You need coaching, mentoring to do that. 4, you got to do something you believe in. You got to have confidence you can do it. And then you need support. Can you get the support you need to do it? And then finally, is there a market for it? So if the answer is yes to all those, well, you're off to a good start. If the answer is no to any of them, then you've got potential problems. You really wonder, why am I doing this?
I love it. Thank you so much for being here and doing this when you could have a million other things to do. So a couple recent things: becoming coachable, unleashing the power of executive coaching to transform your leadership in life. You were a co-author on that book as well with a few others. And then I'd also recommend, if you somehow haven't already read it, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, that Marshall talked about writing with his friend Mark Ryder. Just legendary books that have been life-changing for me. And your work has just had a huge impact. I'm super grateful for you, man.
Hey, thank you so much for asking me to be here.
And I would love to continue our dialogue as we both progress. There's so much more to learn.
Well, assuming I'm still around, I'll be happy to talk to you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Marshall. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.